You are watching Uncle Dynamite. Here's a look at 10 movies that I own that I can no longer watch.
Today I'm going to take a look at 10 movies that I cannot watch anymore. This will range from they're good movies, but they were really good for a one-off viewing, to I watched it and absolutely didn't like it, to I watched it, I didn't care for it, but I would recommend it, maybe because it was good acting or, a good storyline or some other reason. But anyway, these are top 10 movies that I own that I would never watch again. The first movie I'll talk about is Chitty, Chitty, Bang, Bang, or as I like to call it, Shitty, Shitty, Bang, Bang. When my kids were young, I would tolerate this movie, but I absolutely cannot stand it. I understand that young kids would enjoy it, and that's fine. That's exactly who I would recommend it for. I, however, would be happier if I never saw this movie again in my life. The next movie is The Revenant. Now, this is one I would absolutely recommend watching. Leonardo DiCaprio was great in it. Tom Hardy steals the show as the antagonist. But it's one of those, I could never see myself watching it again unless I was at somebody's house or apartment or whatever and they happened to have it on. I would sit and watch it. But for my own collection, I could never see myself picking this movie out on a Friday or Saturday night and saying, let's watch this again. It was really great for a one-time viewing, and that is exactly what I would recommend it for. But this makes my list out of movies that I own that I would never watch again. The next movie I'm going to talk about is The Sound of Music. Now, this is an all-time classic. It's one of those movies I think everybody should see once, and I think that's exactly what it's good for. A one-time viewing. For me, I like the story. I'm not a fan of musicals. I've posted this in other videos that I don't quite understand them. I just don't get musicals. I was glad I saw this movie one time, and that's the way I'd like to keep it. I saw it once, and that's enough for me. Next up is Heaven is for Real. Being Catholic, I was actually really looking forward to seeing this movie. And I was kind of surprised that the story made it to the big screen. I would see this more as a direct-to-DVD movie, maybe something on like the Hallmark network. I'm glad that it did make it onto the big screen. Thoroughly enjoyed it, thought it was a good movie, and that said, I would never watch it again. It just, wasn't enough of a repeat story. I'd recommend it again if you're a Christian, if you believe in God. It's definitely a good movie. It's wholesome. It's something you can sit down with your kids. You could sit down with your parents or grandparents or whatever and watch it. But to say you're going to rewatch it again, I don't see it. But that's not to take anything away from it. It's just for me, I would absolutely doubt you'd ever see this in my DVD player again. Up next is James Cameron's Avatar. Now, this is one of the all-time highest-grossing movies. The movie cost a ton to make. James Cameron had been away from movies, away from directing for quite a while. The movie he did before this was Titanic, which kind of falls in the same category as a movie I don't think I'd ever watch again. But I digress. Um, I didn't really think Avatar was that good of a movie, and I'm a huge fan of anything sci-fi. I'm a huge fan of mechs. I'm a huge fan of aliens. I'm a huge fan of you know the bulk of this story. It just didn't work for me. I just did not enjoy it. I just felt it was too much of, all right, I've seen this, I've seen that, and it wasn't played out in a unique way that made me say, like, yeah, that movie's got a ton of replay value. Now, I know I'm in the minority when I say that because, again, the money this movie grosses and still grosses today is ridiculous. Um, I just think, maybe it's for a casual sci-fi fan. Don't throw rocks at me for saying that. Um, I would recommend if you like science fiction movies, yeah, see it. But it's something I would not look forward to seeing again. Now, that said, I would recommend somebody watching it because it's not a movie I don't think you should miss out on it. But I certainly won't be watching it again. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Now, unlike Avatar, I don't know why anybody went and saw this movie. It was just a bad movie. It was a bad storyline. In this series, I never liked the Thing. I thought he was too small. The Thing's supposed to be massive, hulkish. I don't know. I wanted to see Galactus in it. You never really get to see him. Um, just a bad movie. The only way I'd recommend this is if you're a diehard comic book fan and you're willing to sit through bad movies, which I am. I actually like the Daredevil movie. I have the director's cut, and I would watch that. I don't know, every few months. That's a decent movie to me. Not a great movie, decent. Again, I digress. This is a bad movie. Why I even still have it, I don't know. When I was making this video, I was going through my DVD collection, and it was kind of sad because I had realized how many bad movies I'd gotten rid of that would have been great for this. An example of that was Jennifer Lopez's Made in Manhattan. That was just, I watched it with my wife, and it was nice sitting down and watching a movie with her, but awful, awful movie. And this falls right in that same category. Again, the only way I would recommend it is if you are a diehard comic book fan and want to say, like, I've seen every single comic book movie, have at it, Haas, but I'm sure you won't care for it either. Now we move on to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I know many, many, many people love Gene Wilder, love this movie, love the way it played out. I am a fan of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I like the slightly darker movie. Again, as I just said in this video, I do not like musicals. I don't like random singing. And this falls right in that category. I just, I don't like it. I would watch it with my kids and enjoy it on that level. But once they grew out of it, I was actually kind of glad. And as far as I'm concerned, this is one I would never watch again. I would recommend it to people who enjoy musicals because, again, it does have a following. I know I'm in the minority saying I don't like it, and that's fine. Um, not everybody's going to agree with everything I say, and that's all right. You can disagree. That's all right. But for me, this movie stinks. So I would never watch it again. The Blind Side. This is quite simply a wonderful movie. It's really a heartwarming story. It's to me about how people should treat people, and showing how if you're giving a chance, you could be something more than you thought you'd be. Sandra Bullock's fantastic in it. That said, it's not a movie that for me I need to watch again. My memory of it is fine. I would recommend it. I just don't ever see a case in point where I would put this into a DVD player and watch it. That said, if my wife said, "Oh, I'm putting Blindside on, and that's what we're watching tonight," c'est la vie. I would sit and watch it. I would never choose it. I'd recommend it. I think it's definitely like a 4 out of 5 star movie, but it's really a one-time viewing. I would not get rid of it out of my collection, because if somebody, a friend of mine or whatever, would say, "Oh, I never saw Blindside," I would gladly lend it to them, but I wouldn't watch it again. The Pirates of the Caribbean series is absolutely fantastic. It is so much fun. It is everything an adventure movie series should be, based on a great ride in Disney World. By the time they got around to the third one, which is at World's End, I don't know where they went wrong, but this movie was quite boring. It absolutely could have been cut down in length. I think that would have helped it. And I would watch the first two um, any day of the week. This movie, I would be happier if I never had to see it again. I don't get rid of it because I like having a complete collection. And, there's an off chance that, again, somebody I know, maybe they didn't get to see it. And instead of having them waste their money on buying it or renting or whatever, I would just lend it to them. But for me, I would let this collect dust for the rest of its life, and I would never watch it again. Okay, and we've actually reached the final movie, and it is Me Before You. I'm not really a fan of romantic movies in the first place, but this one hit on a lot of wrong notes for me. First was the casting. I think if this movie had been realistic, where the gentleman that was crippled was played by maybe an actual crippled person, or somebody that was slightly more disheveled, and this guy was on like the verge of suicide. He was supposed to be really down on himself. I would have liked to have seen the character reflect that, and instead what you got was a really good good looking guy that women will swoon over, that type of thing. Same with the female lead, Emilia Clarke. You'll know her from Game of Thrones. Very good looking young lady. The issue with it is, again, she's a very good looking young lady. I don't know, the relationship just doesn't work for me. Had she been played by, maybe more of a butterface type, or, maybe an overweight woman who, is in a struggling relationship, maybe she's in an abusive relationship, and she meets this guy in the wheelchair, and they get a connection, and they learn to care about each other, and it gives her hope that she doesn't have to stay in a relationship where she's being abused, that type of thing. This movie for me could have been like an Academy Award winning movie. Then, it's just bad casting. It's just, let's throw some really good looking people up on the screen, give them a unique love story, and roll with that. Had the casting been different, I really think this would have been like something special. As it stands, I wouldn't even recommend watching this movie unless it's someone who says, like, "I'm a huge fan of romantic movies." Then yeah, go check it out. Otherwise, no thanks. This is another one I don't think would ever see the light of day. I'll never watch it again. It'll sit in my collection. If it wasn't for my wife, this is a movie I would actually just give away. Just, honest to God, walk up to some random person. "Have you seen Me Before You?" "No, I haven't." "Here you go, have it." And I've actually done that before. And this is definitely one that would qualify. That would be would be gone. It would make room for something else, another movie. Well, that is the top 10 movies that I own that I will probably never watch again. So, thanks for watching, and I will catch you later.